Welcome back, my beautiful people, to STR News Digest, your go-to place for everything related to STR, travel, and the business of hospitality. Today, I have a few interesting stories that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is how the budget airline industry is shrinking. I've talked about this already a couple of times in the past, but I'm going to specifically talk about Southwest Airline. I talked about how Southwest, Spirit was doing it. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore. JetBlue also shifted to this. But right now, let me go into my stories real quick. Because Southwest is doing a couple of interesting things. Now, if you listen to their CEO, they're telling you that they're not doing it for financial reason. They're doing it to maximize their and expand their current route. So one of the interesting things they're doing is that they're discontinuing service on two major airports. So one of the major airports is Chicago O'Hare. Now, I don't know, where you're watching from, but if you're from the South Florida area and you visit Chicago often, I would bet that at least once or twice you took Southwest Airlines. Now, one of the reasons why they're discontinuing service to O'Hare is because they already have services to Midway. And for those of you that are from the Chicago area, those are two very distinct airports. I personally like to fly into Midway versus O'Hare. O'Hare is just too big, too chaotic for me. But it's much easier for if you're going to get picked up by a family member, or at least in my case, to fly into O'Hare because it's easier for them. Midway is a little bit further away from them. But for me, I always rent a car, so it's much easier to fly into Midway. So for me, it's not going to affect me much. But for those of you that are used to flying on Southwest to Chicago via O'Hare, you're out of luck because they're not providing service there beginning June 4th. So just a few days, actually tomorrow, right, is their last day they're flying there. The next place, and forgive me, my sinuses are killing me, man. I have very bad congestion right now. The other place they're discontinuing service is Washington Dallas, right? IAD is the abbreviation. They're cutting services there, and they did it abruptly, right? There's a lot of people that got notified that their flights are canceled because they're no longer flying there. Now, again, if you talk to Southwest Airlines, they're saying that the move is part of an ongoing network of optimizing effort. Again, in these two areas, they already have service in their sister airports, so there's no need to fly in the same area. But here's the interesting part. They are increasing or creating new flights, right? And I'm going to go right into one quick second. Let me bring this up. I should have had this ready, but every time I do this, I always have a hard time opening up the new windows to see where I got the story from. I think it's right here. Okay, so what I wanted to address was that Southwest is not the only airline that's cutting services, right? You have Avelo, which is another budget airline. They're also cutting services to DC or the DC area. You have Air Canada. Air Canada is not cutting services to Vegas. So there's a lot of airlines that are cutting services to certain areas that are not profitable for them, which we're going to see that a lot in probably the next 2 or 3 years. And the reason being is air travel has become more expensive. and you probably saw it in your ticket prices. But because of all the everything that's happening around the world, you're seeing international travel shrink, right? Canadians are not coming to the U.S. as much as they used to be. Uh, you, U.S. travelers are not flying into Europe as much as they were a couple of years ago. Uh, you're the Middle East, forget about it, right? There's a lot less travel to the Middle East, so you're going to see a lot of other airlines following suit and trying to figure out how to maximize their route. But as I mentioned, they're also increasing new routes. So, for example, Avelo, as I've already talked about, they have new routes from Halifax and Quebec City. You also have some Runovik, which is I think it's a Swedish airline. They're doing nonstop flights, budget nonstop flights to South Korea, Washington, Dallas. So there's going to be a big shift in the airline industry within the next year or two. You're going to see a lot of either new routes, or you're seeing a lot of airlines pulling out on certain routes. I can tell you Vegas is one of the cities that's going to be hurting a lot. A lot of airlines are pulling out of Vegas. People are not traveling to Vegas like they used to. So you're going to see a lot of airlines pull out of that. So the next thing I want to talk about is, and this is part of one of the things that I've been talking about for the longest time. I've already mentioned multiple times on these STR News and Digest lives about targeting Gen Z travelers. Take note, right? I'm one of those people that I don't have the staffing to do all the high-end research that companies like Starbucks, big major airline companies do, and in specific Expedia, right? Expedia spends a lot of research money to research data trends on travelers. Well, guess what? And I've talked about this before. The new market where you should be focusing on this type of traveler is Gen Zs, right? I've been saying that for a while. That's where the money is, in better terms, right? The issue with Gen Z travelers is they're unpredictable, and they're more likely to base their travel decisions on price, right? Whereas millennials didn't do that. They based their travel decisions on specific experiences. They really didn't pay too much attention to the price itself. They did pay a lot of attention to what they're going to get for what they're paying for, and they wanted a better experience. Gen Zs want the experience, but they don't want to pay. So they're really price conscious. But guess where they're at? They're on social media, right? So here's what Expedia is doing. Expedia has signed one of the world's largest creator contract with a company called IShowSpeed. Now, this company basically helps attract Gen Z travelers through live streams, travel content, all led by content creators. So if you are a content creator in the travel industry, like I am, you probably already know what I'm about to say. Now is the time to double down on your content creation, specifically focused on Gen Z travelers, because companies are looking for content creators to collaborate with and partner up with. I can tell you I've received tons of inquiries, and most of the inquiries, I'm shifting them over to my What Hustle channel. Like, for example, and I won't say the name, but there's been travel bags. We're going to see them on my channel. Jackets like raincoats. Those type of companies are looking for content creators to push their products to travelers specific. But for me, I can use it for both this channel and my What Hustle channel. So I'm trying to collaborate with companies that I can that will work in both audiences. Two of them I just mentioned, and one's going to be a backpack, and the other one's going to be a raincoat. And I won't say much more about that, but you'll see it. And here's why that matters, right? For years, travel brands had spent a lot of money on TV commercials, magazines, ad banners on Google, and they're not getting the return on their investment like they were in the past. Why? Because the travelers today are on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Hence why, if you are a short-term rental operator, I'm going to continue to preach this. You need to be on social media. You need to target and do your videos and your target ads to Gen Zs. I'm telling you, that's going to give you a higher ROI than spending money on anything else. So that's hugely important. So, and again, we're now going to be competing with companies like Expedia, like Airbnb, Booking.com. They're spending tons of money on content creators, or giving content creators a lot of money to advertise their companies so that they can target Gen Z travelers. Hugely important, right? Again, for me as a creator, I focus on Gen Z for my short-term rental management company, right, for Dream Vacations and Rentals, but I also focus on Gen Zs for my Hustle channel because they're the ones that spend more time on social media than any other group. So if you're trying to target the masses, that's who you need to target. Okay. Next, let's talk about Airbnb's 2026 summer release. Extremely interesting here. And you know what? I never put up real quick. Let me give some shout outs. Andres, Julio, OnStyle Caps, Miami, Verushka. Thank you all for watching and commenting. So Airbnb's summer release. Summer's right around the corner. There's going to be a lot of releases from Airbnb, but right now, let's talk about a couple of key points, right? I talked about this already last week's STR News and Digest, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. But some of the major announcements is that Airbnb has introduced, and I've already said this, car rentals, airport pickup, grocery deliveries, boutique hotels. They have created a FIFA World Cup experience, extended experience marketplace, and extended service marketplace, all for this summer. They are doubling down on things like chefs, photography, personal trainers, spa, catering. They want to be that one-stop shop, and they're spending a lot of money on that. So the big question is, and I've been asking this for a while, right? And I've been putting it out there for you guys to comment on. Airbnb, in my opinion, wants to become the next experience. Do you agree, or the next Expedia? Do you agree or disagree? I mean, the evidence is clear to me that they want to be Expedia, right? Something that they had fought or pushed against for years, but not anymore. Here again, Airbnb used to focus solely on accommodation, and Expedia focused on the entire trip. And they're learning that's the way to go. So you, as a short-term rental operator, that for me is great news for you. Why? Because you need to be doing the same, right? And piggyback on Airbnb. Piggyback on their services. In fact, provide those services and list them on Airbnb. Try to team up with a hairstylist, a barber, a massage therapist, a chef. Team up with them, add their services to Airbnb, and use that, or add it to your own website, which is more ideal, so that people can book that through you, right? The other thing is Airbnb's growing focus on hotels. I've already talked about that. I mean, they're really focused on hotels right now. Again, because they're losing market shares due to regulation and due to the fact that Booking.com and Vrbo have also doubled down and also are eating up Airbnb's market share when it relates to short-term rentals. I think that is going to be it for this week's STR News and Digest. If you have any questions or comments, list them below. Let me just do one double check. It says, okay, why do you think there's been such a significant drop in travel to Vegas? A lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons why Vegas has lost favor is just because of the money. It's become super expensive to travel to Vegas. And Vegas has always been somewhat of a niche travel destination, right? I don't gamble. I don't like nightclubs. So it never attracted me. Like, I never had a need to go to Vegas. I've been there just to say I've been there, but it's not my favorite. I'm not a gambler, and I don't like nightclubs, which is what they're known for. And it's super expensive. So that's one of the reasons why there's been a significant drop in people going to Vegas. Let me see if there's anything else. How do you compete with such large companies in the industry? Very difficult to compete with them, right? This is one of the reasons why I've always had a love-hate relationship with Airbnb, because I hate them, but I have to work with them, right? They spend, their pocketbook is, really, really large. So I take advantage of their marketing spent, right? The money they spend on marketing, I take advantage of that. That's why I play with them, but I hate them. If it were up to me, I would not even advertise on the Airbnb platform. I just wouldn't. But work with them, and Airbnb is doing the same thing, right? They can't compete with Expedia, hence why they're joining Expedia. So they're trying to do exactly and mimic what Expedia is doing. So it works both ways, right? All right, my beautiful people, not seeing anything else. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, travel safe. Be be budget conscious, especially now. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.